In this video, you learn how to listen to music as a musician. Now, most people, when they listen to songs, they hear the sum of all the parts. They kind of hear everything as one, if you like. But as a musician, we want to be able to listen to songs and isolate each instrument. And when you do that, you are effectively hearing the song differently each time you listen to it. Hi, this is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net, and in this lesson I sit down with e-training specialist Dylan Andrews to discuss the concept of active listening and how important it is to have this skill as a musician and as a guitarist. Active listening is the art of being able to listen to a song and decipher what is going on at a micro level. So we're listening for things like the frequency of chord changes, how long sections of a song are, being able to identify that in terms of bars and beats, as well as repeated patterns throughout the song, strumming patterns, melodic phrases, these types of things, chord progressions, as well as isolating each instrument. So join both myself and Dylan as we discuss the really important skill of active listening and how you can implement this into your own practice. So let's get into it. You sort of touched on it before, and I think this is good, and I touched on it earlier. When you don't have the guitar in your hands, just listening to music. Try and take a song, any song, and listen to it, listen through the song, and just focus on one instrument. Now, by default, you're going to have a particular way you listen to a song. So for me, when I hear a song, I'm really listening to the guitar, right? I'm a guitar player. I'm kind of naturally, by default, focused on the guitar part. If you don't play music, you probably, not necessarily, but possibly just sort of hear the sum of all the parts, right? You just hear the song. But what you want to be able to do is be able to hear the song from different perspectives, different vantage points. So if you listen to a song as you typically listen to it, then you go back and you focus in, let's say, on the drums, and you just really listen to the drums throughout the whole song, you'll hear it completely differently. And you'll hear things that you weren't aware of. It's kind of like a peripheral vision, but you kind of like, okay, now I'm over here. I'm really focused on the drums. I can hear the other instruments. They're there, but I can just, it's like the fader thing again. I'm putting up the drums and I'm listening, and then listen to the song again, but listen to the bass. Just really focusing on the bass, and you'll hear the song completely differently. Guitar, vocals, whatever's going on in the song. Just try and listen. There's parts you might have heard the song a million times. You'll hear stuff that you were never aware was even in the song. But the point is developing your ear and training your ear to be able to pull things apart. So when you're working on, with the guitar in your hand, working the song out, you can identify the guitar. Or a lot of the time, I'll arrange music. I love arranging songs for acoustic guitar. So that means I've got to listen to other instruments. I want to bring in some of the bass, or I want to add the vocal melody to a chord melody arrangement, or some percussive element the drums are doing. So it's not just training your ear to pull those things apart and hear them individually in isolation, but it's also, because you might draw from it to create something on the instrument. And also your listening skills will be better when you're jamming with people. You won't be so just in your own world playing. Yes, you've got to kind of be doing what you're doing, but you've got to be aware of what's happening around you. Otherwise, you'll sort of have the blinkers on, and you won't play as well, or kind of make the most of other things that are happening around you.
Yeah, you will. And when you're transcribing music, if you don't have a lot of practice just isolating instruments, then just listening to music a lot will help you. I mean, you can just practice this in your car when you just listen to music, pick an instrument and start just trying to hone in on it. Once you start kind of training your ear a little bit, if you haven't already, you completely change the way you hear music forever. It's way more, and it's for the better. You listen to music on such a deeper way because you're listening to exactly isolated the guitar. You can hear the drums, you can hear the bass, you can hear everything they're doing. And I remember before I could play, or before I had an ear, it just sounded like one main thing.
Yeah.
And then it was like waking up from the Matrix. Like it was like there was so much more going on. And it started helping me be able to play better with other people. It helped me transcribe better. I mean, and just for the rest of your days, it helps you enjoy music more.
And that's very true. And you want to hear when you listen for patterns. Is it the
Right.
same chord progression, or does it change in the chorus? Is the chorus the same as the intro? What are the lengths? What's the chord change? Is there frequent chord changes? Are they changing every bar, half bar? These sorts of things you want to be able to identify just by listening, because that's all going to contribute. And you're right. I mean, I, I remember when I was in grade six, so that's like I'm 12, and there was this guitar player that came in to talk to us at school. I wasn't playing guitar at this point, and he was a
Yeah.
professional player. He played on TV. He had videos of him playing on TV, all this, and that's when I first realised, wow, the guitarist just does, like, he demonstrated the song, and he's going, all I do is just play this riff over and over for this whole song, and I was like, I thought the guitar just kept doing different stuff.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
things so stupid.
Yeah.
But and that's an extreme sort of example. I mean, I was young, I hadn't played guitar at all, but it really is repetitive. I mean, it's not typically doing all that much in a lot of songs. So you want to pick up on that and realize it's
It
not
is.
such a
Yeah.
mountain to climb working out a particular song. Because it can be quite simple a lot of the times, and particularly when you start with simple tunes, like you say.
Yeah, exactly. And the first song you transcribe is going to be the hardest, and every
Yeah.
single one after that just gets a little bit easier, because after a while you do start to hear all of these different patterns, and kind of the stages that I go through when I'm listening to songs is, one, like I said, I find the one. Once I've figured out what the chord progressions are, then you want to figure out, well, what is the strumming pattern? Like you were
Mm.
saying, Simon, when are the chords changing? And you'll know the majority of songs either change on beat one or the end of two.
Yep.
Like that is, or beat three. It's those three ones that are extremely common. And listening for it was the chorus section, different chords, and all of these different things. But like a checklist is just knowing the rhythm, when
Yep.
chords are changing, knowing what the chords are, and where everything is being played.
And the bass movement, it helps you identify where chord changes are. Chord changes can be hard to hear at first if you're not used to doing this,
Yeah,
right?
they can.
It's the bass that changes, and you go, oh, that must not always the case, but a lot of the time it's going to be the change of the bass note will be a change in chord, and you can kind of hear where these chords are. You'll get better
Right.
at hearing the guitar strumming, but that can be a little bit more buried in the mix, and the bass typically carries, right? So you can really
Yeah. The
zone
bass
in.
is actually way more prominent in the mix, or even a live show, wherever you can always really hear the bass really well. And
Yeah,
it's also a really good idea to listen to the bass, because the guitar, I mean, just doing simple chords like a C, you have all of these other notes that are going around it, where the bass will just be playing.
yeah,
They'll just be playing those one note, so it's much simpler to listen to and figure out.
yeah.
If you listen to that bass, you pause it, find it, listen to the bass, pause it, find it. Eventually you get to where you can just listen to a progression and know what's going on.
And you spoke of rhythm before, which is the other
Yeah.
thing that we've sort of alluded to. But you work out the notes, that's great, but you've also got to work out the rhythm by ear. If we're just talking completely by ear, you've got to be able to play it back accurately in terms of the rhythm. So there was when I was in music school, it sounds like a kindergarten game, but one of the exercises in a particular class were, there's a lot of us, we're in a circle, someone would clap a rhythm and the person next to them had to repeat that rhythm, and you go around and see if you could keep the rhythm
Yeah.
accurate, or it would change typically, which is good, because then you've got to be aware of that and you've got to clap it back. So just, hearing a line or a strumming pattern or whatever it is, the skill of being able to just clap back rhythm. So again, without a guitar in your hands necessarily, you can hear, and you should practice this thing of interpreting a rhythm and being able to tap something back. So you might hear a little phrase in a solo. So yes, you've got to work the notes out, but how is it rhythmically? Can you tap the rhythm to the phrase, or
Exactly.
use your voice to express the rhythm, or something to kind of, again, awareness of time and knowing the time signature and feeling where the beat is gives you the reference point for what is happening around it. So many times when I'm working things out by ear, particularly if it's something that's a bit intricate, I will tap my foot and count aloud as I'm playing to feel, yeah, that's on the end, or that's on the it's either, as you said, a lot of the time on the end or on the beat. It can be on, sort of 16th note divisions too, but
Yeah,
if you get a
yeah,
feel for that and you can feel where those notes are, then you'll be able to, play them accurately, rhythmically speaking too.
yeah, exactly. And you can figure out the rhythm before or after you figured out the notes or the
Yeah.
chords. Like
Yes.
for instance, if you're trying to transcribe a guitar solo, well, you do have the option of before even figuring out the notes, you can just listen to it and just try to clap the rhythm,
Yeah.
right? And by doing this, the pro of this is, well, when you're clapping that rhythm, you're going to know exactly how many notes are happening in that solo or in that riff, and then you can start slowly filling in the blanks. And you can do it vice versa. You can figure out the notes first and then the rhythm. But the best thing you can do is when you're trying to figure out rhythm, is one, being able to clap it. If you can clap that rhythm on time, then you really know it. But when you're figuring it out, what you want to do is you want to count like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then listen to it as you're counting.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you hear a sound or a note being played on 2, you know. And then the end of 4, you know. But it's important to have a sharp count, meaning that you get to the bottom really quick, the top really quick. So it looks kind of funny when you're doing it, but if you're doing it like this and it's real sloppy, it's going to be kind of hard to tell where things are happening. So you just have a hard count, you listen to it, you can clap it. That will help a lot with the rhythm. But also, too, just being able to play these rhythms really helps. Like common rhythms, common strumming patterns.
Yeah.
Just being able to play them, it goes a long way to being able to listen to them and know what's going on.
And it's like, it's not random sort of rhythm. So, like chord progressions and refs and things, there's common rhythm divisions used all the time. You'll hear
Oh, yeah.
like da, 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 quaver with semiquavers or just quavers or, dotted notes. There's very, very common rhythm combinations. So you get a feel for it and you'll be driving along, you go, oh, that rhythm pattern or whatever, so it's not going to be something completely different every time. There's going to be common little rhythm groupings, if you like, that you'll learn to hear. And the more you, as you say, you count out and feel or hear where the notes are, you start to just feel where notes are. You feel the beats, you feel a down, you feel an upbeat. You can really sort of, all this becomes much more ingrained within you as you do it more.
Yeah, it is. It's just doing it often.
Yeah.
A lot of times if you're not used to transcribing songs or going through it, in the beginning for a while, you're going to have a tough time with it. It's just going to take a little bit while. You're not going to be able to transcribe your first song perfectly. But after doing 10 songs, 20 songs, listening to it, figuring it out, you just get better so much faster. Listening to just little parts of it, isolating instruments, finding on the guitar, this is a great starting point. The end goal is to be able to listen to it without an instrument anywhere near you and know what's going on. That's the end goal.
Yes.
But just finding it on the guitar and listening to it is a great way to start getting to that end goal, getting there.
I'm certainly not against using tablature. Tablature is great. Gets all of this. I would just say a little rule I would have is always be working something out by ear. So it doesn't have to be something where you're going to work out a complete song. It might just be a little part of the song and the purpose is just to work with your ear, or it could be anything, as we've said. But always just have a portion of your time dedicated to working something out by ear. And as you get better with it, if you're consistent with it, you'll get better with it. As you get better with it, you'll do it more. And you'll also, when you're looking at tablatures, you'll go, that's incorrect. There's the classic,
you'll start to note it. That's a good
it's not a major or a minor chord in the song. You'll see a mistake most times in chord charts.
Right.
That, it's like, it's B diminished. I would just say it's B minor, and it's wrong.
Right.
Or it's the relative major instead of the minor or whatever. There's common mistakes you'll see in charts and things online. And so you'll be able to correct those as you get better. But don't, ignore tablature or chord charts or whatever. Just bring this into your playing. 5 minutes per session or whatever it might be. Just make sure it's consistent. And also, when you're listening to music, take some time just to, as we were saying, isolate the parts and really listen for rhythms and repetition and instruments and things like that. Just bring it into your playing as a component to everything else that you do, and you'll get better with it. And you'll start to do it more naturally. If you like this video, you'll love this ebook complete with video examples called 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. Do you struggle to make the fingerpicking patterns you learn on guitar sound like music? Perhaps it's because you believe in one or more of these fingerpicking pattern myths. 1. You need to know a lot of patterns to have your fingerpicking sound musical. 2. Only advanced fingerpicking patterns sound musical. Easy patterns are too basic to sound any good. Or 3. There is a magic pattern out there somewhere that once found will finally have your fingerpicking sound the way you want it to. None of these myths are true. This is because fingerpicking patterns alone are not musical. They're technical. It's what you do with the patterns that will determine how musical they sound. In this ebook, you learn how to make the most boring fingerpicking patterns sound amazing instantly. Plus, the simple trick to make advanced fingerpicking patterns easier to play, and the thumb and one finger trick that's so simple and will have your fingerpicking sounding pro in no time. Click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook complete with video examples, 10 melodic fingerpicking patterns you can learn in 10 minutes or less. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comments below what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. Let me know how you listen to songs. Do you have a default way you hear songs? Either you hear the guitar or you hear the lyrics. Whatever it might be, let us know. Don't be shy. I love to hear what you have to say. If you like this video, then hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And of course, hit the all-important notification bell button. That way YouTube will tell you when I've released a new video. This is Simon Candy from Acoustic Guitar Lessons Online.net. As always, thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate your time. And I also look forward to seeing you in the next video.